a kind, more like the people in the world seeking perspectives with a different line. The kids who share the interest together with a similar kind. When they said Don Glover for Spider-Man, they didn't mind.
What's up, Internet? It's Hard Knock Life once again. I am your host, Keith Chow, and tonight we are going to be talking about everyone's favorite comic book superhero television shows, and more specifically, the shows of the DC universe. In fact, Netflix just announced you can stream Season 3 of Arrow and Season 1 of The Flash just in time to binge watch and catch up before their seasons debut. And we have Supergirl to look forward to as well. John Constantine coming to the Arrow universe. It's a big deal, a big DC Universe TV season. And what better guest panel than to have two big DC superfans and veteran guests of Hard Knock Life joining us.
So anyway, I brought two friends to talk about the shows that they want to see this fall, and make a couple shows that we don't really want to see, but we like to talk about it anyway. So first off, all the way from California, joining us tonight is Christelle, making her triumphant return to Hard Knock Life.
Third time. And I'm repping Supergirl tonight. There.
So clearly that's the show you're looking for.
I am. I've already seen the pilot, and I like it, and I'm the target audience, aren't I? So
right.
There we go.
But anyway, welcome back to Hard Knock Life. I'm sure you're excited to talk about the TV season because you love TV, right?
I do, and I miss writing recaps. I miss not sleeping on Tuesday night so that I can turn in a recap 4 days late. So.
Well, we are definitely excited to welcome back your Flash recaps starting next week. So that's going to be exciting. Also joining us tonight is someone making a triumphant return to Hard Knock Life. He was actually on our very first episode of Hard Knock Life, and he was on our first TV Fall Network show about TV shows. What? Yes. Welcome back, Shawn Smith, Professor Shawn Smith.
Thank you kindly.
Dr. Smith, so
yeah.
you also have some excitement for fall TV, maybe not. I don't know. How do you feel about?
I do. I obviously I'm all aboard on Flash. I'm actually rewatching Arrow just to kind of see how we got to the point where everyone is in a costume now.
Yeah.
So
we'll talk about about that.
And it just, look, like I told you, Supergirl, I kind of just discovered that because my daughter discovered it. So, and I'm like, okay, I don't know enough about Supergirl to have any expectations. So I'm just like, let's go, right?
Right. Well, so let's dive into it. We have one half of our Flaro recap besties. Unfortunately, the other half of that team, Connie, couldn't join us tonight. We really miss her being on the show, but. Christelle, as our resident Flaro expert, pretty, expectations after such a successful first season. I am repping the Flash tonight, by the way.
Yay.
Season one kind of, took everyone by surprise. And how do you think the folks over in Central City are going to live up to the expectations of season one? Because they kind of laid it all out on the table, right? What else is there?
Well, I think it was brilliant with introduction of alternate realities, because now they can legitimately just do anything. They can go anywhere. They could create what fan fiction writers call AU storylines. So I have to explain it to anybody who reads Nerds of Color. But so now they can veer off to what everyone is expecting. And maybe some of those hardcore Flash fans who want things a certain way.
Right. You're talking about strippers. You're talking about strippers.
I'm trying not to. It just happens. Okay. So, but I got majorly just called out on Nerds of Color on one of my recaps the other night about just because I was not aversive to Snowberry stuff, but whatever. So I'm not going to talk about that because I'm still scared.
Yeah, you don't want those Iris fans coming after you, right?
Yeah, but they can. But I'm most interested in what they're going to do with Wally West because
Yeah.
Connie and I, Constar and I, have been discussing it, and we're just trying to figure out why he's so old. And I think that it's kind of like a time. It's going to be a time travel thing, of course, because they introduced that as well. But I'm hoping that there's going to be 2 Wally Wests in there. Like we'll see little baby Wally West, and then we'll see the grown and fine Wally West, and that Wally West will be able to have his own adventures with Linda Park and all the others, and then like visit little baby Wally West, and he can like babysit himself. That's like a whole episode right there, right?
Well, I'm glad you brought up Wally West because I think one of the biggest news that came out of the CW and the Flash over the summer was they cast an actor, Keiyan Lonsdale, from the Insurgent movies series to play Wally West, and as Christelle alluded to, he's in his 20s. I mean, he could always still play a teenager. I mean, we all know that TV tends to cast older for teenage roles, but Shawn, I don't know how versed you are in Flash mythology, but what is your take on the introduction of Wally West?
See, I like the idea of introducing Wally West because at the end of the day, I think the whole thing with Flash anyway is he's one of those characters that it forces you to suspend belief so much more so, I think, than a lot of the other DC stuff anyway. I kind of like the idea of just like, let's just run with it and let's not try to constrain ourselves to one arc. Because we already know the Flash doesn't have one arc, and quite frankly, if he did, then, as I've always contended, the Flash would be literally 5 minutes long because crime would stop. Like, there would be no crime because he's the Flash. So, no, I like. And then at the end of the day, listen, we're nerds of color. I mean, you know, I'm not going to be upset about a person of color making it on screen. And I'm just not. And especially not with comic book material. Like, whatever. Let's go with that. So I agree with Christelle. I think it allows you to just write something that is going to please just about anybody. So it's very Star Trek-y type of way to go about it, I think. So.
Yeah, I just hope they don't blow up the planet or anything.
Well, you know, if they do, he's the Flash. He can just run backwards in time and reverse the day.
There was a giant black hole that opened up over Central City.
I into it.
Like literally, it's just it doesn't matter if they write themselves into a corner because he's the Flash. Just run back in time and just start all over again. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, and I think that goes back to what Christelle's point. You know, the writers have kind of opened up a lot of options. You know, with all of the things that they're playing with in terms of alternate realities and time travel. I mean, you know, they hinted at Jay Garrick showing up, and now they've confirmed that Jay Garrick is going to be on the show this season. So yeah, I mean, we have, you know, one of the aspects of the Flash as a character in the comic books has been the fact that the Flash is a legacy character, right? That Jay Garrick begat Barry Allen, who begat Wally West, eventually Bart Allen. So you have, you know, and who knows, maybe Bart is going to be on the show this season for all we know. They are not just introducing, you know, characters from the Flash mythology pretty quickly on the show. So I'm really excited about it. I'm just, you know, one of the things that we talked about last year when we talked about the Flash, either through recaps or on Hard Knock Life, was just the idea that most superhero shows have a slow build. You know, I compared it a lot to Smallville. Like the first 4.5 seasons of Smallville, it took them that long to start even, you know, acknowledging that Clark Kent was Superman, or, you know, that they were even based on a comic book. Whereas the Flash kind of like hit, you know, pardon all of the puns, but like they hit the ground running and was like,
yay,
we are not going to even pretend. It was like season 1, we're going to put in episode 1, we're going to put on a costume. Episode 2, we're going to introduce, you know, the freaking Reverse Flash. Like, we're not even going to slow down. And,
I mean, they gave you Firestorm, for God's sakes. Like, who saw that?
He's going to die. I think he's going to die.
But the fact that they even... Firestorm is one of the most obscure DC, and they said, yeah, we're throwing that in too. So it's like, yeah.
Oh, and then
he's going to die.
But the other thing, though, speaking of Firestorm, though, is that the Flash's success has also, you know, I wasn't necessarily planning on talking about this, but the idea that the Flash's success has led to those characters like Firestorm and the Atom and Hawkman and Hawkgirl and with the Legends of Tomorrow series. I mean, there's an entire universe of DC characters in live action in a shared universe every week, and it's kind of amazing, right? Like that we live in we live in a time where we can turn on the television and watch Hawkman and Firestorm in live action.
And they're not lame. That's they're not actually lame. You actually care that Firestorm is in it now. You actually care that Atom is, oh wait, he's actually a relevant character. Like they're not lame. So
right. And the show that kind of kicked all this off was the Arrow show, which debuted 4 seasons ago and now is about to launch its 4th season after a pretty rocky 3rd season. I'd argue that most fans, I think, really jumped on the bandwagon in season 2, and a lot of those fans kind of hopped off the bandwagon in season 3. And then over the summer, even in the last few weeks, I think Stephen Amell has had a pretty rough go at it as far as his relationship with Twitter and just people in general taking his let's say politically incorrect stances on certain current affairs. So what do we think about Arrow, Christelle? Are we excited for Arrow season 4? I mean, there's been some mockery of some of the promo images we've seen coming out.
You mean the happy couple alternate reality type of thing?
All kinds of stuff. I think people are making fun of Arrow this year.
Well, okay. So I was at Comic-Con. I got to see this panel. And he comes out, and he's wearing his new costume, which I like. The black, it's mainly black and all sleeveless and stuff. And
but
he's just yelling. He's the Green Arrow, even though his costume is significantly less green. But
Funny
okay.
That.
And I don't know. And then he comes out and he just starts kind of yelling at us and trying to give us this empowered speech. And I love Amell. I love Captain Amell. I have all of those shirts, those represent shirts that he keeps trying to sell us.
Right.
I have all of them. But after season 3, I kind of just wait for the show to come out, and I don't really have expectations for it anymore. Oliver and Felicity are together, so that's a big plus, a big pro. But I mean, what kind of storylines are they gonna pull off now? I really can't think of anything else that they can do unless they introduce some game-changing characters. That's why I'm hoping for the Green Lantern thing. They're alluding to it so much, but otherwise, it feels like they're just the writers themselves don't really know what else they can do unless they include Ollie becoming some sort of green activist for the city, or they start doing his where he becomes mayor. But otherwise, action-wise, I have no idea what is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things where Arrow kind of painted itself into a corner last season, I think a lot of criticism of the show, fairly or unfairly, I think what revolved around a lot of the romantic subplots. And, there's definitely a very vocal contingent of fans who are very pro Ollie and Felicity being a couple. And we kind of alluded to this notion of shipping earlier in when we were talking, and shipping as a cultural phenomenon in any kind of fandom is really interesting in that a lot of people put a lot of investment in the pairings of certain characters, and in some cases, and I feel like season 3 especially, there was definitely a schism between those fans who not even were against the notion of shipping, but I think fans who thought the writers were spending too much time kind of painting themselves into a corner as far as let's put it out there, pandering to a certain that fan base, and then losing the thread of who the character is supposed to be, right? And I think what season 4, the task of season 4 is kind of not necessarily walking that back, but realizing that characters' romantic relationships isn't necessarily the driving force behind a show like Arrow. It's a nice thing, and I'm not saying you can't have romantic subplots, but I don't think people tune into Arrow solely for, is he going to get the girl? I mean, I know that there are some people who do, but do you think that, intention of the show is kind of lost when it's about, not as how is Ollie going to save Starling City, but is how is Ollie going to date Felicity and not do anything else?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. They're putting all their eggs in, or all their energy is going towards one, and like that's not what's supposed to. That's not the momentum for his character arc and his development. Yes, love, and learning to reconcile two sides of yourself. Like if that was the angle they took, instead of like making it how's he going to be with Felicity, it's how is he going to rectify who he thinks he deserves or who he thinks he can let in his life. Like that would have been more interesting to me. Like it was still I guess fun-ish to watch. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was still screaming at the TV, but like
Sure.
I wasn't it was all just handed there, and it wasn't as intertwined and everything. Yeah, it wasn't.
Or even earned, right?
Didn't it feel like it was almost like they were kind of almost WB was reverting back to its Dawson's Creek days, where like it just. I mean, I say that somewhat humorously, but it felt like after a while, okay, Canary's dead. Yeah, I mean,
Oh my God.
I mean, it's almost like okay, Canary's dead, so he can't be with her, and I forgot her name. Who took over?
Laurel.
Yeah, Laurel. Yeah, okay. So obviously, he and Laurel's relationship was off and on and rocky from the start. Now, of course, it's she's the new Canary. But like and then of course Felicity. I mean, like it's almost like okay, in order to keep a certain fan base hooked into it, we gotta have someone that Ollie's interested in, as opposed to just like we don't necessarily have to have the love story. Like I just feel like they don't. If any, the criticisms with season 3, it almost felt like, to me, the criticisms were largely connected to how they tried to shoehorn Ollie into some sort of relationship at some point, just to keep people hooked. I mean, but like it just felt like there were times when the writers were drawing blanks on how to keep the main villain in the story. So okay, let's let's rope in a love interest angle, because that will give us 45 minutes to just as a buffer between Ra's al Ghul moments. And I just felt like it just became. That's the part that felt like pandering after a while. Like, okay, we got to see Ollie involved in some sort of a relationship, because it's Ollie, he's a heartthrob type dude, So whatever.
That's true.
And I think jumping off that point, I think part of where, and again, I am not necessarily trying to single out like quote unquote all the shippers, but I think one of the things that you kind of see if you ever visit Tumblr or Twitter or whatever on Wednesday nights, I think people who do support Felicity as a character, and this is kind of why I wish Connie was here, because I know Connie's a big supporter of Felicity, but I do think that in a way, I wish there was a way you could put up a character without having to take down other characters. And this is true, I think, of all kind of like shipping. And when you kind of like align yourself with one team, you kind of have to put that team. And I feel like, it's fine in fandom, but I feel like when the writers start doing that, it's a problem, right? So I feel like with the character of Felicity being so, built up, that it takes away other potentially really strong characters like Laurel. Laurel gets a lot of fans, right? And deservedly so for a lot of like the first couple seasons. But I thought as a character, when you take a step back and look at Laurel Lance as a character from season 1 to season, like I would argue she's the most interesting character.
I would agree. I would agree with you. And in fact, I even think they could have made her more interesting. I thought the alcoholism angle was fantastic. Like I thought that was a great point, because you never see that. You never see these characters in this, in the superhero world. You never see them just kind of like dealing with some of the stuff that, hey, wait a minute, this is something that normal people deal with. Like it's not a villain thing. It's just I got some real stress in my life, and you know what? I turned to the bottle. Why wouldn't you? I mean, sister died. Mom stepped out on her. Ollie just came back after being, stranded, lost at sea for 5 years. Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. And her fiance died. There's all kinds of stuff that you cause her to drink. So that made a lot of sense to me.
Right.
In fact, yeah. So I think, and even now, I kind of feel like her taking up the black Black Canary mantle. It's replacing the addiction. Like in other words, instead of diving into the bottle, you know what? I'm going to dive into danger. It's just as addictive in many ways, and sometimes more addictive. So
if Arrow is the origin story of Ollie Queen becoming the Green Arrow, it's also simultaneously the origin story of Dinah Laurel Lance becoming the Black Canary.
Yay.
And I would argue, like you said, her origin story is actually more interesting over the last 3 years because she's had the most dynamism, right? Like she was one character at the beginning of season 1, and she's a completely different character now. And that's what we want out of characters. We don't want them to be. We want them to be dynamic. And I think that at the same time though, I think she gets a lot of the trip because there are people who compare her wrongly or rightly to Felicity or Sarah, and that I think she needs to be appreciated for her own character and not to constantly compare to other better characters, because I think we kind of align ourselves. We're going to root for this particular person, and we have to put down the other person. I think that's unfair to a character.
Yeah, I think what's going to end up happening, and I hope it happens in season 4. But what's going to end up having to happen is they're going to have to start writing certain episodes where you barely see Ollie. I mean, literally, it's just this is a Felicity episode, or this is a Sarah episode, or this a Laurel episode. Sorry. It actually, I feel like in season 2, in season 2 they explored Diggle's character a little bit more. There were some episodes where Diggle was actually really the main focus. So I kind of feel like if they're gonna have to do that, because otherwise it'll feel like a lot of the gains that were built up in the first 2 seasons and maybe sort of lost in season 3. Like it'll feel like they're kind of losing some of that steam. Because again, I just feel like there really is some strength with some of the characters. Even who's playing Adam?
Brandon Routh.
There you go, Brandon Routh. Yeah, I mean, I even like the idea of just kind of like tech giant who decides that it's not enough for me to just be rich and powerful and be a great inventor. What's my mark? What's my relevance? But he's still awkward at it. He sucked at being a hero. He had really good tech. I love that. I love that about it.
The greatest thing that the Arrow writers did all last season was make me care about Brandon Routh, because I did not like Christelle's holding up the poster.
You were trying to shake off the throes of Superman, whatever. You were trying to get the taste out of your mouth. You were like, here's Brandon Routh.
And you know what? Brandon Routh is the definitive Ray Palmer. It works. I like him.
He really is.
I do like him. I like him more than Ollie sometimes. And
this goes back to this whole notion of people who don't like Ray, and especially when he was dating Felicity, right? Like this idea that when you pair characters with other characters, like I feel like as a writer, maybe this is me as a writer talking. I mean, I think it's important to explore different relationships in a show. Like that's why you have a show with an ensemble cast. You want to see how, like, I want to see the Lloyd and Diggle episode, right? I want to see how they interact with each other. I want to see, whenever shows pair people who don't normally share scenes together, it's exciting for me, right?
Right.
I think
the
we need
Rachel
more.
and the Chandler.
There you go.
The Rachel and Chandler episodes.
Yeah.
I wanted to swing back a little bit to Diggle and this, and then we'll put a pin in the Arrow conversation. But yeah, so there was a lot of talk over the last season and a half where Diggle, when he joined Team Arrow, and did not take on a code name nor wear any kind of anything to disguise that Oliver Queen's bodyguard is also helping the Green Arrow fight crime. So after much criticism of that, the producers of Arrow have decided that we will give Diggle a costume finally. And rather than rejoice, the internet burst out in laughter at Diggle's costume. So what do we think what is the official Nerds of Color stance on Magnegro?
No.
That's my favorite nickname, by the way.
No.
I don't know if you guys saw that.
No. I mean, no.
It's bad. It's real bad.
I mean, how
I
many
need to pull up the picture.
how many adjectives are we gonna throw? I mean, just no in so many ways. Well, okay, you know what? No, okay. Costume design aside, like clearly it's an issue, but it's such an easy issue to attack. It was unique. It felt right that he didn't have a costume. I mean, Diggle didn't come at this from, oh yeah, I'm gonna be your sidekick, and he didn't start off this way. He started off as literally just being the hired gun, bodyguard for Ali, and just it just so happens that my client likes to run around at night with arrows fighting crime. Like, oh, okay, but at the same time, he's got this whole tortured past with his brother, which of course apparently we're gonna explore with with Amanda Waller, I guess, and I don't know, like I just felt like it was right that he didn't have a mask, and it felt like for all these people running around with costumes, it felt okay. Stop, just stop.
He looks like RoboCop.
It's so like, and my thing is, you know what? The other thing about it is, okay, when it's all said and done, everyone else's costume actually makes some sense in terms of but like the even Diggle's costume, he has this military special forces background. If nothing else, I would expect, okay, he's gonna get his battle fatigues on, or something that's more in line with his background. Like this is just, I'm rocking this big long leather coat with I guess some armor plating on it, and like it feels like everybody else, has a costume. I guess Diggle should have one. It's
gonna limit his vision.
It really it really doesn't. To me, it just feels like I gotta believe it's it would make. I would hope that he tries it on and says, you know what, this is not me. Like I would totally be into that as opposed to him just you know what, I'm just gonna be running around with the damn helmet like half the season. We're just gonna do that.
As long as he ditches the helmet and finds a green power ring before season 4. That's all I care about.
that I guarantee you that episode will get the most ratings though.
When we find out Diggle's middle name is Stewart.
Yeah, if he just all of a sudden became Green Lantern, like, you know what? Okay.
So I want to we've been spending a lot of time on the two original CW/DC Comics superhero shows, but arguably the biggest one debuting this fall in a couple weeks is the one that's on Christelle's T-shirt, and that would be Supergirl, starring Glee's Melissa Benoist. One of the things that has been, I think, made clear is that Supergirl is being produced by the same studio and by the same producer of Flash and Arrow, but I think they are trying to make a distinction between Supergirl and Flash, and Arrow as not existing in the same universe. Do you think that is a mistake, or do you think that's the right way to go? Considering that Supergirl is also going to be on CBS rather than the CW, even though they are sister networks, do you think that's the right move to make Supergirl separate from Greg Berlanti's other superhero show?
I think that it is smart, because then it's letting, it's like when you're letting your child go on its own and like try to become its own thing, because Flash was so heavily dependent on Arrow and Arrow's fan base, at least in my opinion, because they had so many, like even right from the beginning, Oliver was in Central City, or Barry had to go back.
Barry was in Star City, right?
Barry went back to Starling. But Supergirl is enough to draw, I think, that big audience right from the start. And so they're that teenager that wants to, like, let me do my own thing. And I think it's fully capable of doing that. Like Flash maybe was that one who's like, let me do my own thing, but they're totally just like still an idiot, like who doesn't know how to pay bills yet, or like doesn't know like how to take out the trash. But I think Supergirl, like, not to mention the production value of Supergirl is probably hugely different than the CW shows. It has
Right.
Superman. It has Superman to help lift it up, and Superman is in that first episode. He's not. You can't see his face, but you see his like silhouette, and you see his like arms.
Right, and there are clear references to Superman throughout I mean, it's not like the Supergirl show does not exist in a world that Superman doesn't, right? Like they clearly make allusions to Superman. Jimmy Olsen is a main character in the show, Cat Grant, which are all Superman characters. They all make not only appearances, but they're part of the main cast. But you know, Shawn, I know that you're kind of new to the show. Have you seen did you see the trailers for the show? Have you seen what the tone of what the show is going to look like going forward? What's your opinion of their approach to Supergirl on CBS?
No, I've seen the trailer. I agree with Christelle that I think they're gonna throw a lot of money into this. I think it's one of those things that CBS, if you think about what CBS has been as a network for the last, I guess, 10 years now, they haven't done this superhero thing much, and when they have, it hasn't worked very well for them. But I think anybody who has looked at the last 7 or 8 years of both movie making and television will tell you, look, it's like MMA at this point. I mean, if you're not on the bandwagon, you're a fool. Like it's a money machine, really. So with something like Supergirl, CBS is going to throw a lot of money into it because not only does it have the potential to obviously be a show with a strong following, but then what happens with superhero properties? You get the merchandising, you get the potential movie spin-offs, or if nothing else, you get TV show spin-offs off of the regular show. So, I mean, I think there's going to be enough resources put into it that it could be really good. I think as a property, I applaud the move, if nothing else. For as much as I am a nerd of color, I am also, I guess, a nerd of diversity. Like the number of female characters of strength on television, it's still dreadfully low. I mean, really, you take Agent Carter out the picture, Xena the Warrior Princess, like I honestly, there really hasn't been much. And when you do have women in the kind of like either the superhero or the fantasy world, anything that falls into our realm of conversation with this little group of ours, oftentimes it ends up being either kind of like a really butch kind of non-feminine character, or it ends up being kind of the femme fatale, and she's always she has to show skin to be or whatever like that. So to me, Supergirl,
Nikita.
Yeah, Supergirl represents a potential avenue to make a female character relevant, make her strong, but still make her vulnerable in a way that makes sense for someone who's young and just discovering, what her powers can be, while at the same time realizing that I kind of have a destiny to, protect the world as well. To me, it feels like something that they could really latch onto. And honestly, there is a female nerd audience out there that is, they've been screaming for it.
I'm glad you brought up the fact earlier that you kind of came to Supergirl because of your daughter, because and kind of jumping off of what you were saying about the notion of creating a female superhero character, a show based around a superhero female character that kind of retains like its femininity as much as its strength. And Christelle, I don't know if you read, when the trailer first came out, there was a lot of backlash against Supergirl. It was very rom-com-y, and like they were, it was just they didn't like the tone of like the trailer, and they assumed that they were kind of demeaning the superhero genre by making it girly, and he kind of like dumbing it down. What's your opinion of that like backlash against, and that having seen the pilot episode, and how that actually plays out in the show? But what is your opinion of like that initial backlash against Supergirl when?
So I think the timing was really funny of it, because I think that was a few weeks or just very close to when Scarlett Johansson hosted Saturday Night Live.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a parody of Black Widow, and it was in and they made it a rom-com trailer. And when Supergirl comes out with its teaser, and it is actually set to, girl power music, and it does have those beats of like being that beautiful girl being asked out by her like awkward friend, but also there's another handsome stranger. Like all of those things were also in there, but it was very, very official and real. Except it's not a parody. It's actually what CBS wants us to see of the show. So I can see where people are up in arms because our super heroines are supposed to be badasses, but why can't I'm gonna sound like Cat Grant? Why can't she be girly, and why can't she be a badass? Like, I'm a girl. But one of the things is that Black Widow or Natasha Romanoff is not Kara. Kara is very much I guess a superhuman who's still trying to find her place, and who is awkward. She is that awkward girl. She is that girl who is interested in finding love. She is that girl who's interested in making strides for herself, without her parents dictating what she can do, or what her family or cousin has done. And she's still wondering if what she's currently doing in her life is the thing that she wants to be doing for the rest of her life. And yes, that follows the tropes of romantic comedy. But at that age, a lot of what drives you in that life is, thinking about like purpose and the possibility of romance, and it's comedic. Like everything that happens to me, like I could either be wallowy, so it could either be drama, or like you can laugh at it. And she's a ball of light. She's able to. That's why the tone of the show is that way, to show that she's not one to wallow and to go into like, let's say Dawson's Creek soap opera dramedy mode. She's one to just brush it off. It just so happens that if she brushes it off, then like she's going to create like a wind tunnel or something. But
well, no, I think it's important too. Like the line that was in the trailer, and is also a key line in the. It's almost as if like the writers were kind of like preemptive strike against the notion of, calling it Supergirl and this, the idea that Supergirl is too girly a show for it to be a superhero show is really to kind of, I don't want to say reclaim, but like kind of take the stigma off of what girly means, right? Because I think and I think it's actually insulting to girls, right?
It's incredibly insulting.
As a father of a daughter, right? Like, and I've written about this on the Nerds of Color a lot. Like, when we like gender neutral, we don't really mean, it's like colorblind. When we say gender neutral, really mean like appeals to boys, right? Like, when we talk about toys should be gender neutral, it should be all about like spaceships and robots and trucks, and it's like, what's wrong with like dolls and My Little Pony? Like, I think we don't push boys to appreciate feminine things. We automatically assume things that are girly are therefore inferior, and that's why girls should be pushed towards like ninjas and trucks, but boys don't have to be pushed. If a boy rocks a My Little Pony book bag, he's going to get ridiculed by both sides, right? And I think that's totally unfair, and I think it's important to embrace like the feminine in our superhero media, right? So in addition to like Supergirl, like DC and Warner Brothers is pushing the superhero girl line next year. I'm like really excited about it. It's going to be in like an animated line, a toy line. It's this whole push where like characters like Wonder Woman and Batgirl and Bumblebee are all like kind of like high school students and everything. But it's really interesting, and it's a way to get girls who don't have this kind of like superhero media marketed to them interested in the genre. And I think that's all good. I don't know why people get upset about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, having a child who's in that age group, now you start to see just how the world is marketed to her, whether it be through comic book media, whether it be through movies, or whatever like that. And so now you become, at least I have become really sensitive to just finding ways to balance her femininity with also strength in that femininity. Like, you don't have to be masculine to be strong. And I really am finding myself aggressively fighting against images of that. Like, again, I mean, I use Xena Warrior Princess as an example, because my thing is, it's like, why do you have to basically run around like a dude? to be considered strong, or like it feels like it's just unnecessary when there's nothing to say that you can't show non-masculine qualities and still be strong. Like, again, actually, Christelle's points about Black Widow are exactly the reasons why I have issues with Black Widow in the Avengers. It's not because Black Widow is inherently a bad character, but look at what she's become in the movies. I mean, she's just either, well, one, I mean, they've taken away just about anything feminine of her, other than the fact that, you know, she happens to be a woman still. But everything else is just, you know, I'm running around with dudes. I'm not doing anything that even hints that I have strengths as a woman that these other dudes don't have. And it's silly, because actually Black Widow, that's one of the reasons why she's a compelling character in the first place, because she doesn't always have to resort to, you know, firing off the gun, and, you know, she can do things that have nothing to do with firing a gun, or you know, punching somebody out or strangling somebody with her, you know, thunder thighs or whatever. So it's just like, you know, it just, to me, yeah, I'm just finding myself like, look, you know, I anything that fights against that stereotype, I'm all for it. And it seems like Supergirl is going to be at least one vehicle that will give some diversity for young females, you know, nerddom.
Before we go, I'm gonna get you guys. Let me get you guys out on this. What is the one thing that you are most looking forward to out of all the shows that we talked about, whether it be Supergirl, Gotham, even though no one's looking forward to Gotham, whether it be Supergirl, Arrow, Gotham, Flash, all the shows we talked about, what is the one thing you're most excited about in the upcoming season?
I'm excited to see the Flash, because now Iris knows his friggin' secret, so he doesn't have to lie about stuff, and she can help out, and she could become a stronger character, the Iris West that we've been waiting for. So I want to see how that plays out. And also, I'm also sorry, I'm jumping with Arrow. I forgot to mention it. I want to see, they're setting up Daddy Lance to be not a friend of the not the Vigilantes, Team Arrow, right? If I remember correctly.
Right.
He is not down with them. So I feel like that's going to be a major source of conflict, especially with him and Laurel. I just like the father-daughter cop girl power relationships, just because I have a pretty aggressively, like, I'm a military brat, so like I like seeing those dynamics play out. I like seeing how those women reflect their fathers so much, but at the same time their fathers are trying to mash down those parts of them that they so clearly gave to those daughters. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
I really think I'm looking forward to Supergirl, to be honest, and I think it's because I am, even though it's only in this first season, I think I'm pretty settled on what Flash is going to be for me, and so I'm just going to ride that wave. And same thing with Arrow. Unless they go completely off the rails, I'm going to be following Arrow all the way through to the end of the season. But Supergirl is just this kind of question mark for me, that it could either be horrific or it could be like, wow, this is way better than I thought it was going to be. So, yeah, of those that you mentioned, Supergirl. And then I guess the only other thing I can think of is something that I don't even know if you all know about it, but me and my daughter have been binge watching a web series called Ruby. And I don't know, like I said, it's Rooster Teeth made it. The same people that did Red versus Blue.
Where can we find that?
I think you can do on YouTube at this point. YouTube, Netflix. Yeah, actually, both seasons are on Netflix, and YouTube. You can also YouTube it. It's a U.S.-based anime, and we've been. I mean, like when I say me and my daughter, we like literally plan days around. Okay, we're just gonna watch. We must have watched the whole thing about like 8 times now. Like, aww. I mean, season 1 and season 2, and it's just because it's that whole girl power thing again, where but it's not like, okay, we're either gonna be femme fatales or we're gonna be ultra butch. Like, they're school children, essentially, but they all have really kick-ass weapons and stupid ill powers, and it's anime. So no, it's just, you know, the only way I can say is if you cross Sailor Moon with Harry Potter and a little bit of Battle Royale. I mean, it's that schizophrenic. But I mean, from episode 1, 10 minutes in, my daughter was sold. And by the way, like the entire soundtrack is like speed metal punk. So done.
Big thanks again to my guest, Professor Shawn Smith. You can find him on the internets, but it's going to be difficult.
Twitter's the only thing I'm not on. Stop it, people.
That doesn't make sense.
You act like I'm completely irrelevant in the social media world. I'm around.
Kind of.
You kind of is. I also want to thank Christelle, who does have a Twitter account. You can follow her at Christelle XOXO. She also will probably be taking over the Nerds of Color account several times this season to live tweet various shows.
And The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead, which returns next week. So, thank you, and again, a show that we didn't talk about because we only care about the DC universe. But anyway, thanks for watching Hard Knock Life. I'll see you next time.
Well, it's the NOC in full color, you see me? The Hard Knock Life, comics, movies, and TV, yeah. Pop culture with a different perspective. Watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this. This is the Hard Knock Life, but not the chica kind. More like the people in the world seeking perspectives with a different line. The kids who share their interests together with a similar kind. When they said Don Glover for Spider-Man, they didn't mind. The activists, directors, comments, and the lectures. Fanboys, professional artists, and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC.